Chapter 7 The Stragglers. Wild geese are known for migrating in the autumn and the spring, but exactly when a flock migrates, it's up to its members. Some flocks choose to fly early in the season. Others straggled for behind, and it was one of those struggling flocks that caught the attention of our robot. Honk, honk, honk. The geese were heard before they were seen. Their honking voice echoed across the farm, and then the flock appeared above the fields, flying in a wobbly V formation. They glide over the pasture and plunk down into the pond. None of them were very concerned as Roz approached. The geese had seen similar creatures on other farms, and they knew where there was nothing to fear, but they were about to learn that our robot was very different from the others. "Hello, geese," said Roz. "Welcome to High Top Farm." The geese froze. They stared at Roz with suspicious eyes, and then the biggest goose slowly swam over. "I've come across plenty of monsters like you," he said, "but I've never met one who could talk." "I'm not a monster. I am a robot. My name's Roz." The goose stretched his head. "Well, it's nice to meet you, Roz the robot," he said at last. "My name is Wingtip, and this is my flock." Roz gave a friendly wave, and soon the flock was gathering around, curious to meet this odd character. As you can imagine, the geese were shocked to learn that Roz had a goose for a son. They asked her all kinds of questions about Brightbill, and about her old life on the island, and about her new life on the farm. Then Roz asked them a question of her own. "Do you think Brightbill's flock would ever come this way on their migration?" "Thoughtful," said Wingtip. "It sounds like his flock takes the eastern flyways. They'd never come this far west." The robot slumped this disappointment. "However, we geese are full of surprises," at Wingtip. "I promise you this, Roz. If we ever meet Brightbill, we'll point him in your direction." The talk was interrupted by giggling and barking. The children were taking their dog for a walk. Roz couldn't be seen chatting with geese, so she whispered a quick goodbye to her new friends and went back to work. And when she looked down at the pond later that day, she saw the flock was gone. Chapter 12 The Homesick Robot. We all feel homesick at one time or another. Even the robot feels something like homesickness. Roz belonged with her son and her friends on her island. She was determined to find her way back there. But how? If the robot was seen doing anything usual, Mr. Sheriff might have her destroyed. Roz had to be careful, so she calmly went about her farm work, day in and day out. But all the while, the homesick robot was secretly planning her escape. Chapter 13 The Electronic Signal. Beep, beep, beep. A message was flashing on Roz's computer. The drone was reporting that gusty winds had sent it swirling into the neighbor's bean field. So the robot grabbed the big, heavy toolbox and marched out to clean up the mess. Roz found the flying machine upside down, its landing gear poking above the rows of leafy plants. It had some scraps and scratches, but not major damage. She flipped it over, brushed it off, and tightened a few screws. Then she said, "Return to Hilltop Farm." The engine started buzzing, and the machine lifted off the ground and flew home. As Roz marched back, she cut through a strip of forest that separate the two farms. They were trees and ferns and rocks and shrubs and small forest animals. It was a little piece of wilderness, and suddenly the robot was thinking of that wild island. She missed it so much. Someday she would try to run away and return to her true home. Was this the moment for her escape? Could it be as easy as sneaking off through these trees? No, it couldn't be that easy. Ahead, on the other side of the trees, Mrs. Sheriff was sitting in his pickup truck, watching Roz. Because of the robot's electric signal, he knew she had stepped off the property, and he had raced out there to see what she was up to. Roz marched over to the truck, and Mr. Sheriff leaned out his window. He had a serious expression on his face. "Don't ever leave the property outside my permission, understand?" "I understand," said Roz. She understood, all right. She understood that she was always being watched. She understood that she was trapped on a hilltop farm. Chapter 14. The Sad Truth. That night, while everyone else was sleeping, Roz stayed out with her computer and researching sneaky subjects. She looked for diagrams of her own body and for maps of the area and for any news that might help her escape. But the robot found nothing. The computer only let her access information about farming. She was cut off from the outside world. It was clear that if Roz wanted to escape from her new life, she would need help. But the cows didn't know how to escape, and Mr. Sharif would never let his robot leave. Who would possibly help Roz run away from the farm? Chapter 15. The Children. As time rolled by, Roz saw less and less of Mr. Sharif, but she saw more and more of the children. They were shy at first. The robot might look up from the pasture and see Jet peeking around a corner of the barn, or see Jaya spraying from the branches of a tree, but the children were growing bolder. And then one day Roz marched into the workshop and heard giggling. She walked to the closet into the back, opened the door, and there was Jalia, smiling and trying not to laugh. "I'm hiding from my brother," whispered the girl. "Close the door." The robot closed the door. A minute later, Jet ran in, flushed and out of breath. "Hey, Roz, have you seen Jaya?" The robot just stared. "I know she's in here," said Jet, and he began prowling around the room. He searched under the work table and behind the tool chest and between all the blocky workshop machines. Finally, he marched up to Roz and said, "I order you to show me where my sister is hiding." The robot pointed to the closet. Jet smiled mischievously and tiptoed over. Then he flung open the door and screamed, "Found ya!" "Not fair," Jolly whined. "Roz showed you where I was hiding." The girl scoffed at the robot. "That wasn't very nice, Roz, but you can make it up to me by playing hide and seek. Count to 100 and then try to find my brother and me, okay?" There was a brief pause, and then the robot said, "Okay." Jaya and Jet squealed with delight and scampered out the door as Roz started counting. The robot's sensitive ears listened carefully to the children outside. She heard quiet footprints crunching across the driveway. She heard a giggle and the sounds of tree branches shaking. She heard a grunt and the sounds of hay bales being shoved aside. When the robot finished counting, it took her exactly 5 seconds to find Jaya up in a tree. It took her another 8 seconds to find Jed in the hayloft. Whoa, Roz is really good at seeking, said Jed as he picked hay from his hair. Jaya snored. Yeah, well, let's just see how good she is at hiding. Roz was even better at hiding. Well, while the children count, the robot silently slipped away, and an hour later, they still hadn't found her. The siblings stood in the driveway, defeated. We give up, Roz, shouted Jed. You win, shouted Jaya. The junk pile beside the barn started moving, and Roz appeared. The robot had been sitting there all alone, perfectly camouflaged among the scrap metal and old farm machines. The next time we play, you have to let one of us win, said Jaya to Roz. And the next time they played, Roz did. The robot enjoyed having the children around. They brought a little lightness into her world, and she hoped to bring a little lightness into theirs. Life must have been dark since their mother passed away. However, Roz had another reason for wanting the children around. She needed them. Her only chance of ever returning home was if Jaya and Jed could find it in their hearts to help her escape. But this was a delicate section. If Roz tried too hard, the children might say something to their father. If she didn't try hard enough, she might be stuck on that farm forever.